All right, I've got Michael here. Michael is a principal at NextAstro, and Michael, I wanted to ask you about ACP. ACP for a long time has been the gold standard for scheduling time on telescopes. But in July last year, Bob announced his retirement. So if you've got ACP, what are you going to do now?
Okay, so ACP was a scheduling software to schedule stuff on your observatory. It's primarily for a single observatory, and you could create a list and targets of objects with particular parameters, like don't go this close to the moon, has to be this high above the ground, and Bob's software, ACP, would prioritize all of the targets that you want to see according to some criteria, weight them, and then once the telescope had a free moment, it would ask for a job. So that's the idea of a dispatch scheduler. The telescope comes and asks for a job, and the dispatch scheduler gives it to the telescope to run. And then the telescope runs the job and then reports back to the scheduler that it's completed, and perhaps it's looking for a new one. That's not often used in astronomy software. So on one side of things, you have the Pro-Am software where you have things that you can linearly schedule. So you can go, all right, open the roof now, then cool the camera, then focus, then do this, then move to this RAN deck, look at this thing for this long. That's a predominant way of scheduling a single observatory telescope that you have in your backyard. And then on the other side of things, you have schedulers which aren't linear, but which are used by professional things like Las Cumbres Observatory, and they plan out 2 weeks ahead of time, where every observation asked for by every observer how that could possibly fit best in the next 2 weeks. And so in that situation, you're no longer this one person with an observatory in the backyard. You are a professional robotic telescope network, but all of your telescopes are the same, and they're sitting on mountaintops in Hawaii and Chile, and you can always assume if the roof opens, it's going to be fairly pristine. And so in between the linear schedulers, do this, do this, do this, do this, and these professional schedulers, where they're organizing a whole suite of 25 telescopes ahead of themselves, there's the middle zone. And then the only thing that was in that middle zone was Bob Denny's ACP. You don't find it usually in backyard telescopes, only kind of high-end Pro-Am telescopes where people have invested a lot of time. So what NextAstro does is it is also in that middle zone, in between the linear schedulers and the 2 weeks ahead of time multi-telescope schedulers. It kind of fits in between there. So it's also a dispatch scheduler, but it can be a dispatch scheduler for your telescope, or it can be for any telescope on the network. So NextAstro will eventually have 1,000 or so telescopes on the network, and you can ask, I want a picture of 20 seconds red photo, and I want it from this kind of telescope. Can I have it? And it will. Any telescope that comes along that can do it could ask the scheduler.
So if you've got ACP, but you don't have a whole lot of other telescopes, is NextAstro any good to you?
Yeah, so we do have people on the NextAstro network that use the network in the same way that ACP would work. It's a single telescope. It's private. Nobody knows it exists. But you schedule your observations just for that telescope. And it, in fact, kind of acts similarly in that it dispatches a job to that one telescope from this list of objects to be observed by that telescope. So you can have this one observatory managed model. Because the NextAstro system is a global network of telescopes that are all different from each other, there's a lot of things that we do to make sure we can compare telescopes to each other and to be able to figure out whether this telescope or that telescope can schedule an appropriate observation. So one thing is we run a commissioning photometry model. So we go through all of your filters and we measure how bright different stars are through those filters, so you have a good estimation of how sensitive your telescope is at the certain wavelengths that your filters provide.
Now, NextAstro automatically takes its darks and biases and applies those automatically.
Yeah.
So you don't have to collect those yourself.
No. So when we commissioned the observatory in NextAstro, basically we just needed to get it roughly in focus, and then you're basically on your way. And the system will self-organize itself and keep on making itself better over time. And then every night it will get another focus point, it'll know the temperature, and will start to model where that focus will be on any given night. And then starting from there, it figures out its own pixel scale, it figures out its own camera size, it figures out every single thing that the system might need to make all sorts of decisions about the optimal way of taking images.
Where do the images go?
Okay, so the traditional one telescope approach is they're used to go in the hard drive. So with NextAstro, we kind of process them on the fly. Your computer at the telescope becomes like an edge computing facility in the NextAstro network. Instead of taking your data and putting it somewhere and then processing it, your computer actually fundamentally acts as much as it can as a data reduction processing facility that is automated. It will collect the bias and darks. It'll take sky flats automatically, figure out exposure times and sensitivities, figure out your dark noise in your image, your read noise variance, and spit all these out into a really high quality calibrated file, which you can keep on your local drive, but it also gets sent up to our servers so you can interact with them online. And also we have a lot of data products that come out of the FITS images. So instead of having to get a terabyte of FITS images, that's probably a bit extreme amount. But say you have a 256 megabyte FITS file that in the past you would have to download and then open up in Mira or FITS Liberator or something and examine. Here you can examine it online. There's already preview JPEGs that you can examine, see if the night was good, if the seeing was good. We do photometry, so you can quickly click around and see how bright your stars are with respect to each other. We have variable star tools, so you can click left on the target, click right on the comparison, get a light curve, also a phase plot to see if it's variable. So your computer no longer is a repository for 2 terabytes of raw images that you have to later stack and figure out and calibrate. That's part of just the general system, that the files come out perfectly calibrated with the most highest quality professional algorithms and approach that there is. But also adds other elements as well, which you have to go to a website and have to have a look through them all. But part of it is you can share your network, your observatory, with other people. So if you have a friend in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere, which depends on where you are, you could say, oh, I've got a CDK17, you've got a CDK17, why don't we just allow each other to use it, each other's? Just you can use mine, I'll use yours type of scenario, or it can happen on a whole bunch of different levels. So you can have a group of telescopes that get together and go, oh, let's share these telescopes together amongst ourselves. You can make your observatory entirely public and anyone could use it. You can make your observatory entirely private and nobody knows it exists, and you're using the software just to get the benefits of cutting edge professional observatory robotic telescope running software, reduction software.
If a user's got ACP, then you'd recommend that NextAstro is worth a look.
Yeah, so we've had a few people who have had ACP now, and we've got an ACP import tool. So in ACP, you have an export to XML file, and it gives you all of your schedules out in this big text-looking thing. You can upload that straight to NextAstro, and it imports into the NextAstro system. It's in a similar but different organization. But once it's in NextAstro, you can organize the groups around and adjust things. But it is very easy to import your old ACP schedules into NextAstro and just get on going.
Very good. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for sharing some of your expertise.
No problem. Anytime.